Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. You're all welcome to our show tonight. I am Cindy Lily, and I'll be hosting this webinar for you tonight. This show is brought to you by Miss Nancy Ajiman, who is the owner of this channel that we are on, Nancy Ajiman's channel, and who happens to be a brand identity designer. She organized this webinar tonight. She has done one before, but this is the second one called financial literacy. And she's willing to do this to get us all informed and educated about our financial life as students. Unfortunately, we can't see her tonight because she will be in the background to to make sure everything goes on well. Yeah, just as you can see, because she is operating everything. The topic for this webinar today is financial literacy, which will be given to us by our main guest, Miss Setonam Blagoji. Miss Setonam Blagoji, aka Miss Seti, who is a financial literacy advocate, and she's such a resilient and hardworking young lady who believes that you can be anything if you put your mind to it. Before we move on, I would like Miss Seti to introduce herself a bit, tell us more about what she does and who she really is. So, Miss Seti, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, Cindy. That was very, very thoughtful of you. Like she already said, my name is Seti Blagoji, and Setona, you can also call me Setona, but everybody calls me Seti. So yes, and I'm a financial literacy advocate, and I got into this based on my personal experience, which I'll be sharing moving forward. But then I have a company called Gold Season where we provide financial literacy programs for young people. And so that's what I really do basically with regards to the finance, because I really want every young person to be empowered and to be informed and to know that they can change their financial situation regardless of who they are, where they come from, what their financial background is. That is if they take the steps and execute and manifest anything that they learn. Yeah, so that's basically what I do. Cindy, should I just go on or
Yes. Oh, I'm just going to say one or two things before we go on with the whole thing. So, yes. Thank you very much for introducing yourself and letting us know who you are and what you do. So, if anyone sees you on the street or sees you on Instagram, they'll know who you are, obviously.
okay, yes, yes.
All right. So, welcome once again, viewers. Welcome you all viewing from everywhere in this world, in Europe, in Africa, everywhere. We thank you for joining us with this in this webinar. For those who are just joining us now, you're welcome as well. Our topic for tonight is financial literacy, how we can build wealth as youth, as young people, as students during and after our school. So I'm reminding you that if you have any questions during her talk or just before the talk, you had any question in your mind, feel free to put them in the comments below, or in the comment section, sorry, so we can ask Miss Seti right after the talk. So without further ado, I'll leave the ball in Miss Seti's skirt. So Miss Seti, blow our minds.
Thank you so much, Cindy. So like you already said, I'm going to be talking about how to build wealth before and after school. But before I delve into that, I want to say a very big thank you to you for, joining us, because the fact that you have taken the time shows that you have the desire, you have the urge, you want to learn. And I think that's the very first step for anybody who wants to make something of themselves or to acquire knowledge. You just have to recognize that, yes, I want to gain knowledge. Yes, I want to do something and actually execute or execute it and say, okay, I'm going to join this class, I'm going to join that. So if you're here, I just want to say thank you so much. Congratulations to you. I think I sometimes wish I was in that space 2 years ago, 3 years ago, to be, want to be, have the desire to learn and all of that. So thank you so much for joining in. And so, like I already mentioned, we are going to be talking about how to build wealth and before and after school. So the question we should be asking ourselves really is, what does building wealth mean to you? And the dominant word in that sentence is wealth. So, what is wealth? Wealth is the abundance of resources or materials. And if you put that into context, that is your ability to even have the money to have those resources and to have those valuable materials. So that is, how do I get the money to be wealthy? So that's what we are going to be talking about, building wealth before and after school. And I like the fact that we made mention of the fact that building wealth before and after school, because we have been conditioned to believe that building wealth, generating income or making money is about finishing school and starting a job. But you can actually be building wealth whilst in school before you even graduate and all of that. But these are things I'm going to be speaking on moving forward. So, like I've already mentioned, wealth at the end of the day is about acquiring that, getting that money to be able to acquire those materials or valuable possessions, etc. So now the question you should be asking yourself is, what does financial freedom mean to me? So because you want to be, if you want to be wealthy, it means you want to be financially free. What does financial freedom mean to me? So basically, financial freedom is your ability to be able to make financial decisions. That is your ability to buy this, buy that, own this, own that, without stressing about it. Imagine if you want to say travel today, you just go, pay for the tickets, all of those things that are needed, and you go. If you want to eat ABC, you're able to pay for it and eat it. If you want to buy, say, a yacht, you pay for it. That's his financial freedom, your ability to make financial decisions without overly stressing it. And most importantly, plus time. So there are a lot of people who have the money, yes, but then they don't have, because they are actively working to gain that money to be financially independent. They don't have the time to actually enjoy their wealth. So financial freedom is your ability to make financial decisions without necessarily stressing about the money. So why are we all stressed about building wealth? Why do we want to be wealthy? Why do we want to be financially free? Basically, it's because the basic needs for our survival is fueled with money. And funny enough, it's things that we have not really paid attention to. We have not really understood, why are we chasing all this money? Why do we even want to make money? Why do we desire to be wealthy? So there are three questions that I actually ask anybody I encounter in my sessions, in my programs that I do with Gold Season. Three questions. If we're having an interactive question out session, I would have asked you guys, but because it's not really, it's just you commenting in the comment section, I'm just going to go ahead. So the first question is, if you're hungry right now and you want to get food, what are you going to use to get that food? The answer is money. You use money to buy that what? Food. Secondly, if say you got a job out of town and you want to rent a place because you want to be in that same town, what do you need to rent that place? It's money again. Secondly, if you and the third thing is, if you want to move from point A to point B, that is transporting yourself from one place to the other. What do you need to get that transportation? Is also money. So I've mentioned three basic needs: food, shelter, and transportation. So the reason why we are all working, we are all going up and down, we are acquiring all the skills to get a job, we want to build financial wealth and all of these things, is because at the very core, your basic need for survival is fueled with money. So don't let anybody deceive you. Don't feel too bad if you really ambitious or you really desire to know how to be rich, how to do all of those things. Money is very important because your basic needs for survival is fueled with that what? Money. So now what we should be asking ourselves is, okay, how do I gain this wealth? So I'm going to share my personal story. Then I'll tell you why I started this in the first place. So before, when I was in school, I don't know if most of you are in school right now, but when I was in school, I was very, very oblivious. I was very ignorant about money. And the funny thing is, it wasn't because I'm from a rich home or I had everything sorted out at home. I just because maybe my parents were taking care of me and it was their stress at the time. I didn't see the need to be financially intelligent, to know how to build wealth and all of that. And I think a lot of young people at that stage are in that bubble. So I finished school. I started my service here in Ghana. When you finish your tertiary, you start what you do a 1 year national service. That's service to your nation. And in that 1 year, you are paid an amount of money. So now I felt like, okay, I'm going to be earning some money, so I want to save. So I tried to start saving. I calculated everything I wanted to save every single month. I did that. Guess what? 2 months my service to be over. I hadn't saved a thing. I hadn't saved a thing. And I was asking myself questions. Why can't I save? Why am I not able to save? And the thing is not because I didn't want to, but my expenses, the things that I needed for survival, were more than the money that was coming in. So now I'm asking myself, okay, what do I do to get here? Then I started saving small because I couldn't just put a huge amount of money aside without touching it. So I started using a money box, which I even turned into a business moving forward. But I got a money box, started saving every coin that I had. Every day I got back from work. Guess what? I opened it, and the amount of money that I made just saving coins. If you are Ghanaian, I mean, you probably understand 20 pesos, 10 pesos, 30 pesos in a month, and I got like more than 50 Ghana cedis, which I couldn't do initially when I even put the 50 cedis down. So it was very eye-opening for me. I decided that, you know what, I want to do paper money. So I started doing 1 cedi, 2 cedi, 3 cedi, and it was good. But then I saved. That helped me actually learn how to save, which is something a lot of people don't know how to do. They've had investments, they've had savings, but they don't know that you actually have to gain that habit. It's actually a habit you have to do, because if you want to be able to put money aside, you need to be disciplined enough not to touch it. You need to be consistent enough to be able to do that every single day. So doing that actually was eye-opening, made me realize that saving is actually a habit like any other thing that we want to cultivate. It's actually a habit that you have to be intentional about. And I did that intentionally, and then I was able to save. But guess what? After now I learned how to save, I realized that anytime I saved an amount of money and something urgent came in the way, I realized that I go into my savings and everything is done. That means I have to start back from square one. So it made me realize that saving is good, very, very good, but it really wasn't the ultimate to gaining financial freedom or to gaining wealth. It's just a step. So that's when I started getting curious about, okay, what do I need to do to build wealth? What do I need to get cash flowing all the time? And then I realized that it is being financially literate. So now, what is financial literacy? Financial literacy is the education and the understanding of knowing how to make money, how to manage it, and how to multiply it. So I realized that it wasn't just about putting money aside, but it was about understanding how to manage it, how to multiply it, and how to multiply it Okay, sorry about that, guys. I hope you can still hear me. So I realized that it wasn't so I realized that it wasn't just about putting money aside or hoarding money or keeping it. It was about understanding the whole thing about money, understanding how money comes in, how you keep it, how you multiply so that it keeps coming. So financial literacy is the understanding and education of how money works. That is, how to make money, how to manage it, and how to multiply it. So I realized that if I understand this, if I know how to make it, if I know how to manage it, if I know how to multiply, then I'm in a better position of building wealth and generational wealth. So when people say financial freedom, it doesn't end with savings, it doesn't end with investments. It ends with understanding the whole concept of how money works, how it comes in, how you keep it and manage it well, and how you are able to put it in the right places for it to multiply for you, like investments. Okay, so if you are here thinking that, oh, I'm coming for financial literacy course, I've come to learn about investments, no, I need you to wake up, understand that financial literacy, building wealth, goes beyond certain things. You need to understand financial literacy. So good. Now that we know what financial literacy is, now I'm going to be teaching you the basic terms in financial literacy. There are things that every single individual needs to know, and there are probably things you've heard before over and over and over again, but you've probably not paid attention to it. But so today we're going to be talking about these things and actually pay attention to it so that we know how it works for ourselves. So I'm going to be mentioning 5 things. The first thing is income. The second is expenses. The third is assets. The last is liability. The last but one is liability, and the last is cash flow. That the cash flow is just a bonus I usually add. But the very main things you need to know is the four. That is the income, expenses, assets, and liabilities. So what is income? Income is what an individual receives, usually in exchange for providing a service or a good. Okay, so what they get back is the money they get. The money you get is what you get from exchanging your service or a product. So your service being your skills. So for example, if me being here talking to you about financial literacy, I'm paid for talking to you, that becomes what my income. If I sell a product to you or a dress or anything people are willing to pay for, the money I get from that becomes what? My income. Then again, you can also gain income from investments. But I need you to understand that income, that is how money comes into your pocket in the first place, is your ability to exchange a service or a product or through investment. And when you understand that, it sort of changes the whole paradigm as to I need to go to school, I need to finish school before I can make an income. School is good, but school is a place where you gain skills. That being said, that means education does never end because skills change with times and trends. There was a time that being a typewriter was a thing. Today, because we have laptops, we have this, we have that. Now, that skill you gained is probably will not be able to gain you income. Do you understand? So education has no end. So if you're that bubble thinking that, oh, I'm going to get an education, I finish my master's, I finish my degree, then I'm going to get a good job, then voila, I'm over with it. It's never like that. Education is good. Go there, gain the skills, but know that the skills that you are gaining is supposed to give you the ability to sell it. It's supposed to put you in that position to sell it to make an income. So as you're gaining that skill, as you're going through the education, know that the fact that you have a degree is not what is going to make you rich. The fact that you have gained that skill, that it is practical to you for you to sell to somebody, you can say, okay, I don't know, I hope I'm making sense to you. It's not just about having a degree, it's about having the skill. So for example, if I studied finance or accounting, and then I finish, I go get a job, maybe in a firm where they need my skills. My ability to understand that my skill in accounting is something that I can sell even outside of that 9 to 5 job shows that you really do understand what's financial literacy. So your ability to understand the skills you have and be better be in the position to sell it for people who need those skills is your income. So income is money an individual receives from exchanging a product or a service or through investments. I hope you are clear with that. So the next thing is expenses. Now, expenses is the action of spending money. Expenses is the action of spending money. So anything you spend your money on is your expenses. And you have to know that expenses is relative to everybody. My definition of my expenses will be different from what you use your money for. So expenses is the action of spending money. Now the thing is, now you've gained your income. What you need to know is you will spend the money whether you like it or not. But the question is, what are you spending that money on? What are you spending the money on? Your expenses usually constitute your needs and your wants. So what are you spending that money on? Are you spending money on things that are going to eventually make you wealthy? Or you're spending your money on things that are not in any way related to your goals or supposed to make you wealthy? So expenses, you have to know that whatever you do, whether you like it or not, you will spend it. But the question is, what are you spending it on? Now, the third thing is assets, which is one of the very, very, very important things in financial literacy. Assets is, when you ask people, any layman would say assets is anything that is valuable, which is true. But in finance, you have to understand that assets is any resource that is valuable and has economic value. Economic value being that they are things that will bring you back money. So, if, for example, if I own a land, okay, and on that land I build a house and I rent it out. Now that land and that building becomes what, an asset to me, because when I rent that building out, it bring people pay for staying in that building, so that house becomes what, an asset to me, because it brings me what, economic value. So any property that brings you economic value or brings money to you is an asset. Some will say a car too can be an asset, but the question you should be asking yourself is, does the car that I own bring me any economic value? Does it bring me money in any way or in any form at the moment? So a lot of people will say a car is not an asset, but it's relative to you. If maybe I'm using the car that I own for an Uber, that means I'm making what is bringing me some form of economic value. So that car becomes what, an asset to me. But usually when we talk about assets, everybody's thinking the big things, the house, the car, the yacht, the this, the that. But we are young people and we are not probably in that position to be able to own certain things. So let's just calm down a little and ask ourselves, what resource do I have that I can call an asset and is going to bring me economic value? One of the things I can tell you, your skills is your asset. Your skills can be your asset only if and only if you know that I can monetize it. So for example, Nancy is a designer. She does logos for people, she does artworks for people, anything in the creative space, she does it. She gained those skills but in school. However, her ability to monetize it and gain money from having that skill becomes what, her asset. So now that skill becomes what, her asset. So if I go to Nancy, I need a logo. Can you get me a logo? And she tells me, okay, when I do a logo for you, it's this amount of money, da, 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 and I pay for it. She has gained economic value from having the skill of being a graphic designer whatsoever. So your skill can be your asset. Your skill can be your asset. Now, let's even take our phones, as simple as our phones. Everybody owns a phone. We all make calls with it, with our friends, our families. We keep up with our loved ones. But the question you should be asking yourself is that phone in any way serving as an asset to me? Is that phone in any way serving as a resource that brings me economic value? Is that phone serving to me as any way bringing me economic value? Now, let me use this example. Your Instagram page. We are all on Instagram, but there are some people that are on Instagram making money off being Instagram. So assets, even though when we talk about it in finance, it seems like the big, big things. We are students, let's bring it down to a level. Anything, any resource that you can monetize and it can bring you economic value is an asset. So even if I have a land, okay, and I'm not doing anything on it, even though that land can be sold in future and the value will be high and all of that, at the moment, I want you to think about it in that way. At the moment, it's not serving as an active asset to me. It's not serving as an active asset to me. Maybe in the future, but at the moment, it's not. So assets is anything valuable that brings you economic return or has economic value. That is your ability to monetize whatever resource that you have. I hope that is clear. So the next thing we'll be talking about is liability. Liability in finance has a lot of meaning, goes to debt, all of that. But I want us to bring it very, very, very simple. Liability, as Robert Kiyosaki would define it, is anything that takes money out of your pocket. Anything and everything that takes out money out of your pocket. So we could say our expenses are liabilities. Our expenses are liabilities. So I'm saying expenses because you need to understand that some, even though it's called liabilities and it sounds like maybe stress or it's taking money out of your pocket, some liabilities, some things that you spend money on, whether you like it or not, whether you go up, you come down, whatever you do, you will need to spend money on it. So for example, a car can be a liability because you have to, it takes money out of your pocket. The fact that you own this car means you're going to be buying fuel every single day to move from point A to point B, to move from point A to point B. When it gets spoiled, you need to fix it. A phone can be a liability because every time you need to talk on the phone, you need to buy airtime on it. So a phone too can what, be a liability. So the question is, how are you going to manage those resources that take money out of your pocket such that it doesn't only hurt you financially? So for example, my phone, even being on Instagram can be a liability because you always need data to what, be there. But the question is, how can you manage that Instagram such that it's not only a liability, but it's also what, an asset to you? So if we understand, a liability is anything that takes money out of your pocket. So the question you're asking yourself is, when my income comes in, am I spending money on building assets, or am I just putting my money into liabilities? The liabilities, some of them you can't do without it, but the question you should be asking yourself is, am I spending on resources that put money in my pocket, or am I spending all my money on resources that take money out of my pocket? Good. So the last thing, like the bonus thing that I said, is like the master controller of everything, and that is called what's the cash flow. The cash flow is your incomings and your outgoings of cash. How is your money coming in and how is your money going in? And the cash flow is sort of determines everything. It determines whether or not you are in the path of building wealth or in the path of just being poor. So cash flow are the incomings and the outgoings of cash. So your definition is, how is my money coming in? How is it going out? Am I spending on assets? Am I spending on liabilities? Is that clear? Okay, so now that we understand the 5 basic terms in finance, the income, the expenses, the assets, the liability, we understand cash flow, we understand that income is just your ability to monetize your skills, or exchange anything for goods, investments, and all of that. We also understand that your expenses are anything that you spend money on. We understand that assets are valuable resources that put money in our pocket and has economic value, obviously. Liabilities are anything that takes money out of your pocket. Now, the next thing I want you to do for yourself, I usually ask any class that I encounter, is to just dream big. Just decide that I'm going to write anything and everything I want to do for myself, for people, for anybody, or for myself to achieve my purpose. Anything, just dream big. Dream like money is not a setback. Dream big. Write anything and everything you wish to achieve for yourself. You wish to achieve for yourself. Good. So the next thing is, I want us to focus on what the real topic here is. The topic is building wealth during and after school. And if you're really following, you would understand that your ability to build wealth is your ability to build assets. Your ability to create and build assets. That is resources that put money in your pocket. So the most important thing you need to do at this point is to invest in yourself. Invest in gaining knowledge, invest in gaining financial knowledge, invest in building assets, invest in just invest in yourself. You can gain all the money in the world, you can lose it anytime, but if you have knowledge, you can always get it back. So invest in yourself, invest in acquiring knowledge, invest in improving yourself, your personal development, time management, invest in knowing how to start a business, invest in the skills that you are interested in. It just basically invest in yourself. And when you're able to do that, you'll be able to apply these things to enrich yourself in acquiring any wealth that you want. Because even if I tell you, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. That is knowledge. So you being here alone is you investing in yourself. You're acquiring knowledge, you're acquiring know-hows on how to do anything and everything. So do invest in yourself. So one of the things I'm going to also talk about is what I did when I was broke and how the things that I did to change it and turn it around. And the first thing is one of the things I've already mentioned. That is investing in yourself and investing yourself to acquire knowledge. When and even in finance, even in changing the trajectory of where you're going. That is, if you probably at the moment you're broke, you want to get out of maybe wherever you are, or maybe you don't even understand. Hey, I'm making money. What am I? How come I'm not? I don't have money, or how come I'm not financially free? How come I'm not financially independent? The main thing you have to do, once again, like I've already said, is to invest in yourself. Invest in acquiring financial knowledge. That is how to make money, how to manage it, and how to multiply it. So the thing is, do you even know how to manage your finances? Do you know how to track your finances? There are so many things in financial knowledge that you need to acquire. The next thing is you need to understand why you're broke. You're broke because your income is not enough for your expenses. Your income is not enough for your expenses. So it means that the money coming in is not enough to cater for the things that you have to spend for your daily survival, much less the other things that do not you can do without, much less the other things you can do without. So what you need to do is to either increase your income or reduce your expenses. Increase your income or reduce your expenses. Reducing your expenses will require you managing your money such that your income can fit into your expenses. So how can you do that? One of the things I personally did was to track my expenses. And when I say track your expenses, I mean your ability to record everything you spend your money on. You can't manage your money if you don't understand where the money goes to. You can't manage your money if you don't even understand what your basic needs are. You can't manage your money if you don't even understand why am I making this money at all in the first place. You can't manage your money if you don't even know what exactly you need, what are your basic needs and what are your wants. So the most important thing for you to do is to track your expenses. Write every single thing down. If you bought stuff, you write it down. If you bought food, write it down. If you bought airtime, write it down. And when you're able to do that, the interesting thing is you are able to clearly see what exactly you're spending your money on. And you're able to calculate in total what you spend on a single thing. So one of the things I did was to calculate my expenses for a month. Okay, so everything I bought, everything I spent my money on, I wrote it down, I recorded it. So when you do that, you're able to clearly see the amount of money you spend on airtime, the amount of money you spend on food, the amount of money you spend on transportation, anything and everything, able to clearly see. The interesting thing I did was, so let's say if I singled out airtime. Okay, you single out airtime, you calculate all the time she spent money on airtime and calculate that total of just airtime. You're going to understand how much you spend on airtime in a month. And for me, that was one of the things that blew my mind. Like I was blown because I wasn't tracking my expenses and because I was just spending my money based on the urgency or the want or my need to get airtime. I was just spending it. But now that I tracked it, I was able to know that, hey, is it the amount of money I really spend on airtime? No, I really need to cut this down. You do that for your transportation, you do that for your food. And what you do now is to analyze the amount of money I'm spending on airtime, on transportation, on food, on this, on that, on clothes. That's it. Does it make sense? Is this something I need to be doing looking at the income that I make? So track your expenses, analyze it, and subtract the things that are not needed. There was a time last year when I'd had in one of my financial literacy programs I usually do it with students. There was this guy when we're doing our budgeting and cutting costs, and one of the things he mentioned was, I pay for someone to do my laundry. Now I'm going to do my laundry myself. because I'm realizing that it's taking a lot of money from me. When he was able to do that, he was actually able to save money. So if you don't track your expenses, you will not have a clear view of what you really spend your money on and a clear amount of how much you spend in total for a month. When you do that, it's very, very eye-opening. Sometimes you even feel bad. I realized I was spending so much money on airtime, on Uber, and a whole lot more, on soda, on Coke. I'm not saying those things are not good, but if you look at the money that is coming in, does it make sense for you to be spending so much money on these things? So now that you understand that, you either increase your income or you reduce your expenses. Now, we've talked about reducing your expenses, that is managing your money. We've talked about the fact that you need to track your expenses and analyze it. The next thing you need to do is to increase your income. Increase your income. So, say you do a 9 to 5, say you have a business that is bringing you money. If you realize that that income is not covering your expenses enough for you to be able to even save money or even to invest, then you should be looking out of other means and ways of increasing your income. Now, we've already understood that your income is generated based on your ability to exchange a product or a service. So, now what about yourself can you monetize? One of the things I would advise is to look into yourself, ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What what is it about me that somebody will be willing to pay for? Can you sing? Did you study accounting? Can you do accounting for your friends for them to pay you? What's in yourself? what what skill do you have? What about you? What are you passionate about that can be monetized? And that is your answer to making, getting an increased income. Some people are entrepreneurs, good entrepreneurs. What problem are you solving for people for them to be willing to pay you money? What are you inventing? What about you really can you sell? Usually when people talk about entrepreneurship, some people feel like, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. It's not just about being an entrepreneur, it's about understanding that you can sell any skill you have. What skill do you have that people will be willing to pay for? And you can turn that into a business. So don't look at entrepreneurship like a skill I have to gain or something I have to be good at. You as an individual, you are a business. You as an individual is a business. You check you how you spend your money. That's your finance. So you're like an accountant on your own. How you relate to people, your HR. So you as an individual, no, you are a business. That entrepreneurship as some like a special skill. Right. Okay, so don't look at entrepreneurship as a special skill you need to, acquire. It has to be, I have to grow up, I have to have the innate skills, or I have to be born as a leader or as an entrepreneur. No, everybody is an entrepreneur. Your ability to monetize anything makes you a business person. So think about everything like a business. So your skills, your services, selling a product, all is business. Your ability to monetize anything to something people are willing to pay for is your ability to get extra income. So the next thing that I did was the savings, which I've talked about. And one thing I like to share with people is some of the things that are in the Bible about finance. And it blows my mind all the time because it makes me realize that even the Bible wants you, even God Himself wants you to be financially free. Even God Himself wants you to be financially free. So in Proverbs 21:20, if you can open your Bible now, that would be great. It says, "The wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever what he gets." So even if the Bible is telling you this, who are you? Who are you to just spend anything, your money anyhow, and expect to be financially free? No way. The wise man spends And sorry, the wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets. So save. Saving is one of the very most important things. Save, because I this year, for example, I lost my job, my regular 9 to 5, but because I understood financial literacy, I understood the whole concept of how to make money, how to manage it, and how to multiply it. I wasn't relying 100% on my 9 to 5 job. I had other things I was doing on the side. I was saving. So even though I've lost my job for like, I've not had an active 9 to 5 or consistent cash flow for close to 7, 8 months now, I'm not like 100% broke. That's because I understood that you have to save, you have to invest, you have to increase your source of income, you have to manage your money, you have to do this, you have to do that. So financial literacy is really good because you don't know when or where or how anything is going to happen. So the Bible itself says a wise man saves for the future, but a foolish man spends whatever he gets. So if you spend every money you get right now, it should tell you that you are not in any way, you are not in the path of building wealth. Save, because you never know when that business idea will come. You never know what misfortune will befall you. So just save. The next thing is multiple sources of income. Multiple sources of income. That is your ability to have other areas of generating money. And one interesting thing I found in the Bible that also blew my mind was Ecclesiastes 11:2 that says, invest in 7 ventures, yes, in 8. You don't know what disaster may come upon the land. You don't know what disaster may come upon the land. So if you're a student here, you are not done with school, ask yourselves, what other thing can I be doing as a side hustle? What other things can I be doing to generate money? What things can I even sell to students, my own friends, that they'll be willing to pay for? What do students even need? Do they need books? Do they need pens? Can I sell those things to them that they'll pay for it and I make my profit? So multiple streams of income, have other sources of income. So the final thing I'm going to be talking about, which is really going to sum up everything that we are talking about, that is building wealth. We've already understood that to build wealth, you should be building more assets than liabilities. So that is your cash flow pattern. Your cash flow pattern. I wish I could share this screen, but I cannot do that. So the cash flow, for the cash flow pattern, like we've already talked about, we know that cash flow is the incomings and the outgoings of your money or your cash. So what cash flow pattern do you have? What cash flow pattern are you following? The cash flow pattern, there's income, there's expenses, there's assets, and there's liabilities. The question you should be asking yourself is, if you want to build wealth, you need to be when the income comes and you're spending on your expenses, you need to direct more into your asset. You need to direct more into your asset. That is resources that will bring you, or resources that have economic value. So if you're a student here, even as a student, even as you finish school, start focusing on resources that is going to bring you money. So is it investments? Is it the different types of investment, that is bonds, mutual fund, treasury bills, stocks, etc? Is it starting a business? Is it owning a property that is going to bring you money consistently? So focus on your assets, on resources that are going to bring you economic value, resources that are going to bring you money in return. Is it owning a property? Is it using your Instagram page as a source of income? So anything and everything that you can monetize becomes your asset. So if you are in school, you want to build wealth, focus on the assets. And you can only do that if you invest yourself, you acquire financial knowledge, if you start being very particular about your money, that is tracking your expenses, and subtracting the things that are not necessary, um saving, investing, having other streams of income. those are the ways that you can, you know, build wealth. So that's basically what we are going to be talking about today. And I hope you've learned something new. I really hope you've learned something new. So these things are just the basics. These things really are just the basics. These things are just things that will awaken you and make you understand that no, money goes beyond savings and investment. It's my ability to understand how to make the money come in. It's my ability to manage it. It's my ability to multiply it. So in gold season, we provide these financial programs that gives you the in-depth knowledge of how to plan your finances, how to manage it, how to increase your cash flow, how to manage your cash flow, how to the investments bit, that is how to invest, what to invest in, and all of those things. But these things are just the basics for you to understand that you need to be very particular about how you're making money, what you are spending on, and understanding what you spend on, and understanding some of the things that you spend on that are nowhere near necessary, and actually subtracting them and saving. So that's basically it. Cindy, I think we'll just go in for the questions right now.
Yes, thank you very much, Miss Seti. Thank you very much. I'm very much enlightened about these things. I didn't know a lot of things, and I've been I've been educated for real. I was noting down some points if you saw me. So thank you very much for this lesson. I've learned a lot from it. One thing I've learned from it is that your ability to build wealth is your ability to gain assets. And by doing so, you need to invest in yourself by acquiring knowledge and all of those things. And I really appreciate that. I'm going to do it with my own self as well, and I hope you do same too. So
You're
we
most
thank Miss
welcome.
Seti. I don't think we have any. Wait, just a moment. I think we have some questions over here that we need to ask. So the first question is this one is a funny one. How much is too much money for a young person? How much is too much? Do we have a limit?
Hello, Cindy. I didn't get that question well.
Oh yeah, sorry. So I said, how much is too much money for a young person, as young people? How much is too much money to gain, or is there a limit to the money that we're supposed to gain, or the wealth that we are supposed to build?
Okay,
Is
so
there a
what I'll
limit
say is
to it?
there's really, really no limits, because if you've heard people say over and over again, your needs are endless, your wants are endless. Like, if you don't have money right now, you probably be focused on the things you can afford. But if you imagine you had anything and everything, every day you need, your needs are endless, so there's no limit to it. And that's why there's something called financial freedom, like I mentioned already, your ability to make financial decisions without stressing. So if you are at that point in your life where you feel like I can make financial decisions without stressing about the money in my bank account, without stressing whether it's going to affect my school fees, it's going to affect my rent, it's going to affect taking care of my kids, my home. If it's not going to affect any of these things, then you can say, okay, I have a lot of money, so this is the limit. But guess what? Your needs are endless.
Mm-hmm.
Your expenses never pause. There's never a time where your expenses will say, okay, Seti, this man there, you don't need this, you don't need that. It actually grows as you grow, your responsibilities
Yeah.
grow. So for example, at the moment you're a student, so basically, what you're probably focusing on is getting your education, your books, the things, the materials that you need to go to school. When you're done, and you probably now have to be fending for yourself. That is rent, water bill, all the bills you can think about. So that means as you grow, your expenses grow. Now you get to a point where you are probably getting married, you have kids, you have this, they are going to school. So your needs never for any second pause, or never for any second, I mean, just say, oh, this is the limit. There's no limit. So if you are young and you're probably your parents are probably still taking care of you, this is the best time for you to take advantage and build those wealth, so that you know for a fact that okay, even though I'm saving, even though I'm investing, even though I'm building on my assets, My expenses like rent, water, transportation that probably my parents are taking care of is not affecting my wealth. Do you get it? So there's no limit. So far, if you think you have reached that point where you can make financial decisions without stressing. I don't know if you've noticed how some people go when they go for a shopping spree, right? They just take the dress, they just take anything and everything without really thinking about whether or not it's going to affect their bank account. But for some people, even before you take the dress, you are calculating it. Even before you take the dress, you're calculating. So there's really, really no limit. There's really, really no limit. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much for this answer. I am much content. I know there's no limit, so we can get as much money as we want actually from now
Yeah.
going on. The next question is how do friends influence how we spend our money? How do our friends contribute or influence us?
It really, 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 really does influence how much you spend. So I was reading a book this week, and in the it's a storybook actually. And there's this lady that has a friend that is very particular about, I mean, designer stuff. So if she's wearing a watch, this watch doesn't look nice. It's not expensive. It's not this. And now she gets intimidated. She doesn't have the money. She doesn't have the means, but she finds herself now looking for what money to get that watch just to what impress her friend. Imagine if she had a friend that was saying, "Oh, I think we should buy a land. I think we should do this. We should do that." It changes the whole conversation of what you have. So really, your friends really, really determine everything, not even just your finances, everything. So the question you should be asking yourself now is, what do my circle of friends talk about when it comes to or financial wealth or generational wealth? Are we talking about where to go for our next vacation? Are we talking about where to get the nicest clothes? Or are we talking about that and at the same time wanting to improve ourselves? So, for example, I have friends who share educational content with me, and you read it and it enlightens you. But imagine if you had friends who only share gossip to you, who only share, oh, what this celebrity is doing, what this, you realize that it encloses your knowledge span. So your friends really do affect you, how you spend, how you want to grow as an individual, your personal development, your financial development, everything. Because if your friends are always talking about the latest cars, without talking about how to get that money for that latest car, you should be questioning your circle of friends.
Yes, totally. I agree with that. 100%. I'll go on to the last question that I have here. That is a credit card good, especially for young people or for students? Like credit card, is it good for us?
This question. Well, I would say that there's something called good debt and bad debt, right? There's good debt and bad debt. You can't do away with maybe borrowing money. Sometimes you really do need it. But you should be asking yourself is this a good debt or a bad debt? And I'm going to explain that. A good debt is money that you take for on an asset. So let me break it down. So you are spending it on something that will probably have economic value in the long term or in the short term. So the question you should be asking yourself is, this credit card that I have, am I spending only on things, like it takes us back to the same thing, the same cycle? Am I spending only on things that just take money out of my pocket? I'm spending on things that will probably bring me back money in return. So even though it's debt, in the future it's going to bring me back some financial gain. I don't know if it makes sense, because the credit card is you are taking money to spend, right? Which is not yours,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to pay back, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
obviously.
So the question you should be asking yourself, so for example, if your credit card is spent only things that are going to take money out of your pocket without bringing it back, now you should be asking yourself, how am I going to pay that money? Where is the money coming from? However, if you're spending that money, let's say for maybe your school, right? Or you're spending money on books or something that you know in the long term or in the short term is going to bring me back money, then it's good. But you definitely can't say that everything you're going to spend are going to be on assets. But you have to balance it. You spend on things that just take money out of your pocket, but make sure that there are assets in there that you're spending money on. Yeah.
Very much. Yeah. Thank you very much for this answer, for these answers as well. There were personal questions in there, and there were questions that people, and I know people want to know about as well. I know we've all been blessed by this topic. A lot of things I didn't know, a lot of things I did know, but in all, we've learned a lot of things from it. And thank you very much, Miss Seti.
So
You
much.
talked about the gold season.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how we can contact you, how we can get in
Okay.
contact with you to do all those things? Yeah.
Okay. So at Gold Season, we have a membership club. A Gold Season membership is an exclusive club for young people who want to, do more than the ordinary. So you want to gain more. That is financial knowledge, entrepreneurship development knowledge. You sorry, I think I missed. My network was messing up a bit.
No, you can go on. You can go on. It's all
Okay,
right.
good. So if
Yeah.
you want to gain financial knowledge, you want to gain or entrepreneurial knowledge, you want to gain personal development, this club is for you. So in this club, when you join in, the first 3 months we're going to go through an intensive financial literacy course. We learn financial planning and management. We learn increasing and managing your cash flow. We also learn about investment. But moving forward, we learn so many things with regards to building businesses, your personal development. I can't mention all of the things that we do there, but it also gives you the opportunity to, like we talked about, your circle of friends, right? So you are also in the midst of people who want the same thing. You bounce off ideas from each other. So that's what the Gold Season Membership Club. It comes at a fee though, but it's very, very affordable. So if you want to know more, you can visit our social media page on Instagram, Gold Season. It's GOLD, that is gold, underscore SZN underscore. So Gold Season. Just type that out. You get on our page. There's a link. You can just register. Thank you so much, Nancy. You can just register, and or you can send us a DM and we will take you through the steps. You can also just follow us because we post educational content on there as well, and just learn, just equip yourself with financial knowledge basically. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Miss Seti. So the Instagram account is gold_season underscore. You can
I think I
contact her.
can't hear you clearly. I don't know what's happening.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
um but can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Oh
So
wow, I can't hear you.
oh yes, no problem. I guess they all can hear me. So you can visit the Instagram account at gold_season underscore to be able to get in touch with Miss
I really still
Seti.
can't hear you, so pardon me if I'm not responding.
It's not a problem at all. It's not a problem at all. Yeah, so gold
Yeah,
underscore
my
season
microphone is off.
underscore is not a problem. Yeah, I guess we're just going to close with
I
this
think I'll
remark
just
as
have to
well.
read your lips then.
Yes, that also works. So yeah, visit the Instagram account. You can ask any question you want over there, whether it be they said there's no dumb question, so you can ask anything you want, whether it be how do you save money, how do you start tracking your spending, or whatever it is. You can start asking her, and you can connect with Miss Seti as well on Instagram, on her personal Instagram. That is Seti_me. So Seti_me. And with that account, you can ask her any personal question you want. She's willing, she's open to answer these questions for you. So thank you very much once again for joining us, y'all. And thank you to Miss Seti for joining us and teaching us, making herself available to teach us about financial literacy. So thank you all for watching us, and we'll see you at the next program. I hope you all enjoyed it.
I still can't hear you, but I think you're just wrapping up. So thank you to
Yes.
and thank you to everybody for joining. Yeah.
Yes.